Hello and welcome to the Unity tutorial on a horror game. So today we're going to be making like a really basic horror game. This is just to kind of get you started, and then it's up to you to kind of take it from there and add features you want. But I'll try and do a little bit of the basics just to kind of make sure you've got a bit of an understanding on like the code inside, the creation of the levels, and like what we can do in Engine to kind of make it look as good as possible. I'm doing this on Unity 2022.3.56, whatever, but most of the logic should be transferable. Start off, we've got our scene here. All I did was I went to Unity, I did new project, and I did 3D, and then renamed it to student horror, and then I made that. So just to start off, I'm just going to right click on my hierarchy here, 3D object and plane. This will just act as the ground for now, just so we can get a player moving around, and some AI stuff would be cool. So that's what I'm going to do for now. And then my main camera's right here. I can move it about. But if you press F, it means that you go straight into the object. So I can see that if I press F now, it's underneath. So this plane, if I click back on it, I've called it ground. Here we just want to set it to 0, 0, 0. And then we can see it on the camera here in game view. You might have your game view like that, so I would always suggest just spreading it off, just because when you're doing UI and stuff it's really useful. It might be free aspect as well, which I'm not a big fan of, because if I like shrink it and enlarge it, it's not really showing me the scale of stuff. So I always do a bit of full HD, just because that's what I usually create my games for, because that's what my monitor is. But yeah, so we've got a bit of ground there, that's cool. I'm going to right click in here now, and I'm going to create a 3D object called a capsule. This is going to be, I'm just going to rename it to our player. This is literally just going to be the basis for our player, and what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our main character. So I dragged him up with the green thing. If you hold control, it does it in segments, which is quite nice, but grab your main camera and just drag it underneath, and it should look like that. And what you'll see is if I drag it back out, if you look at the transform position, if I drag it underneath, it changes up. So we're just going to put 0, 0, 0. Now it's first person, so we want to drag that up a little bit, and now we should have kind of our first person player. Down in the assets here, I'm just going to right click, create, and then find material, and I'm just going to call this player matte. But matte is just short for material. It's what we use in coding, so that's what I'll just use there. Just going to go to blue, make it blue. So I've just clicked on that, gone to the color option here, and just made it blue. I'm just going to drag and drop that onto my player. To make it easier to find my player as well in the scene, because we're going to start adding more and more into it, is I'm just going to click this little drop down bit here, and I can do blue again and call it player. So now if I like zoom out and zoom in, you can see the player that's happening. Now the way to move around in Unity a bit is to hold right click to move around, and then scroll in and out, as you can see there. But yeah, so the player's there, it's looking good, so we've got our player. I was going to create a second capsule. I'm just going to call that enemy. Oh, I'm going to put an enemy up there, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag it up, move it across for a bit. I'm going to create another material. I'm going to call it enemy matte. I'm going to drag and drop that on there, but I also need to remember to set the color. Like that. And I'll do the same where I try and give it a little red enemy tag. So that's what our enemies will look like. Once again, I cannot do art, I cannot code, I cannot animate, so this is the best that we're going to have. This is basically the basic setup we're going to need right now. And then the next bit I'm going to make is I'm going to make a little collectible. I'm going to do Slender inspired. I'm just going to do a page. You can always change what you want to do as your collectible. And I will just use some of the tools to change this up. So this tool here is the scale, just to make it a bit flat, to make it look like a page. So I'll drag that down, and it should be about 0.15. I save that. I give it a little grey tag, and I'm also going to right click down here and create a material for it. Oh, am I going to make that grey as well, so it matches. Cool. So that's our page. There's our player. There's our enemy. If we press play right now, surprise to surprise, nothing happens. That's fine. That's what we know. So we've got our enemy, we've got our page, we've got our player. I'm just going to make this plain. I'm going to click on it and just do 5 by 5. The reason why we're not changing Y is because Y is going up and we need it flat, so we'll just leave that as 1. It won't change it on a plane, but if I did a game object it would. But this is like the grounds we're going to use. So on here in static, I'm just going to press navigate. I'm just going to click all the tick boxes for that, just so we can use it for everything. You can untick it as well, that's absolutely fine. But these are options to kind of, if you wanted to use it for navigation, loads of kind of optimization stuff. You can also add a layer to it, you can add a tag to it, and we'll just make sure, because we've got a player, we can add a player tag to that. And then for the enemy, add an enemy tag. So add tag, and we're going to add enemy, and we're going to add page. If I go to my enemy, go to my page. But that's kind of where we're needing to start. So that's a bit of the scene set up for you. And then next we'll start getting the player coding in.